Hello, Abundance 360 community. Marcus Shingles here. Looking forward to seeing you all this Thursday as I host you at our spatial web part of the agenda. I'm sure when many of us ask ourselves, which industry sector or part of society probably one could benefit the most from these exponential technologies and abundance thinking, and two desperately needs it the most versus other sectors or part of the economy or industry. And I think we'd all agree that up there, at least in the top two or three, has got to be education and learning, particularly the public education system. I was very curious about this, and I also thought it was really important because, as we all know, a lot of jobs are going to be displaced by AI and robotics, and it's already happening. I mean, the Amazon Go store is a perfect example. Nobody in that store, right? No clerks. You know, we've all been talking for a while about this concern that a lot of the jobs are going to be displaced. And I think COVID probably accelerated that significantly, right? So, in my opinion, we have somewhat of a catastrophe in the making, not to be a pessimist here, but I really think um, education and learning has to be transformed. As a father of two that have gone through the public school system, and then my kids have both been through college, when my daughter went through a private college, I can tell you, even with that education, there was at least twice in their development in their education. I remember deliberately intervening to say, you know, there's some blind spots here that your teachers and your education system's not preparing you for. So we have a real risk. It's what we teach and how we teach it. So I was very curious about this, and I also thought it was really important. So I've adopted a high school in South Central Los Angeles back in 2015. I literally went down and approached the superintendent and then the principal of the high school and said, hey guys, I really would like to interject some of this exponential thinking. And I'm happy to say that 6 years later, I still am in touch with many of the kids that I mentor, and they are running businesses and they're employing people from their community. The other thing I'll end on is how we teach, but essentially, how do we create virtual reality classrooms and campuses and learning? There's a study by PricewaterhouseCoopers that shows that virtual reality learners are better equipped from that experience than a classroom setting. So it's already being proved as a better way of learning. And we all know it's better than learning on Zoom. I'm working with a nonprofit called National Centers for Families Learning. It's one of the leading nonprofits that focuses on after school education and reskilling to get people out of generational poverty, the whole family unit. We've also partnered with one of the largest school districts in the United States. We meet in virtual reality and we talk about the art of the possible. We talk about what is being democratized in a way that we can create an abundance of opportunity in this virtual reality rooms to completely transform the way that we educate. And I'll just give you one example, this abundance versus scarcity mindset. When you're in a virtual reality headset and you think about how do we educate people, your first instinct is to think traditional and think, well, we have one teacher that's going to have a virtual reality classroom and the students will come into this classroom just like they do in the real world. But if you think about it, we're not limited by real estate costs in a virtual reality room, even though it feels like real estate. So what was one of the things that you can kind of take the handcuffs off and think a little bit out in the box on how you could reinvent it to be better? Not just to be provocative, but actually to have a better learning experience. And one example was the notion that every student could have their own classroom. You could have 30 students and each student has their own classroom with their curriculum, with their performance progress, with their homework assignments, completely customized to them. And then the teachers can either rotate from room to room, or again, you're dealing with abundance. One teacher's avatar can show up in all 40 or all 30 rooms at the same time. The student is getting taught in their environment. And then of course you have other rooms that is just social, they have more social interaction. It's very hard for the education system to keep up with the pace of this technology and innovation to be able to then translate that into curriculums that they then teach their children, the kids in school. Education and learning will become much more social. And what I mean by that is there'll be professionals like many of you, like myself, that have a certain skill set. And I'll realize that I can just pop into a virtual classroom and go teach someone across the world. And I will do that as a way to give back to my community. So now you have this real ability in a personal way to share and scale learning across many different students. So every student is actually getting access to a higher quality education. The person today who gets the best education in the world for their kids, that's going to be democratized and demonetized to where everyone can have access to that education. The last thing I'll end on is the ability to put AI avatars in the rooms to maybe hit certain topics and to go deeper in those topics. Again, if you're looking at one sector of our economy, of society that could benefit the most from innovation and exponential thinking, and needs it the most, it's education and learning. Here's a couple links for any of you that are interested in learning more. Thanks.